I want to first thank everyone for being here, and in particular thank our hosts from IRCAM and STARTS for making this possible. I think for a lot of us in the room, probably all of us in the room who are here this morning, there is this mounting excitement. Oh, we are part of this community. I love what this person's doing. I love what I'm learning over here, and I want to connect. And I love these points of intersection, of connectivity that IRCAM and STARTS have facilitated and invited for us today. I want to acknowledge the power of invitation and the power that we all have to extend that invitation to each other as we explore how we're bridging art and science. So as Andrew kindly introduced me, I'm Diana Ayton-Shenker. I'm the CEO of Leonardo, the International Society for Art, Science, Technology. And I'll share with you a little bit more about how Leonardo is bridging arts, science, and has been, why that matters, why it matters to me, why I think it matters to all of us. But I want to first look at what it means to be bridging arts and science and continue or retrofit Andrew's question about bridging arts and science to suggest that we may be exploring less of a bridge to connect art and science as disparate disciplines, and rather become or recognize that we are an art-science bridge. That the bridge that we are embodies and emboldens art science together. And I would throw technology into that mix, not just as a token consolation for the 3 engineers who raised their hand, yes, I'm an engineer, but because technology is our common language, whether it's this technology or this technology or this technology, we are always using those tools that enable us to be the bridge that we are. So I begin with this question inspired from a poet, because we should have the art of poetry in our language as we come together. And I'm inspired by the words of the poet Mark Nepo, who in his poem, "This Poem Should Be a Circle," that's the title, "This Poem Should Be a Circle," says, "I wish for you the courage to ask of everything we meet, what bridge are we? I wish for you the courage to ask of everything we meet, what bridge are we?" And as an art-science bridge that we are, we're going to explore a little bit of what that means and why it matters for us today and going forward. So, let me first just introduce, for those who don't know, Leonardo, the International Society for Arts, Science, and Technology. And I'll explain why ASU is in this picture as well in a moment. Leonardo has for over 50 years served as the convener of art, science, technology, building that bridge and holding that space, literally for decades, for generations of leading practitioners and scholars and thinking outside of the box people and partners and projects and organizations at this intersection of art, science, technology. And we do that through our publications, including the Leonardo Journal of Art, Science, Technology, and our programs that I'll tell you a little bit more about. What matters to me about the significance of Leonardo as an art-science bridge is not just that as a pioneering organization that helped create this field, so much so that our co-founder is here today with us, Roger Molina, was saying to me in the break, you know, I feel like I've been listening to this conversation for 50 years. Because he has been, and we've been having this conversation, but it's not repetitive, it's iterative. We're going around, not in a circle, but in a spiral, moving up, because each generation and each voice that comes in adds to this conversation, becomes part of this bridge, so that when we began Leonardo as a pioneering idea, what could this be to bring together these pieces and become one bridge is now a field where there's a room full of people engaged with art science residencies. And there are many publications, there are many organizations, there are programs at universities and cultural institutions around the world. This infrastructure has evolved and emerged even as we continue to build the bridge that we are. It also is at a juncture where it becomes meaningful for me in this development of having, I believe, incredible impact in the world. Because our world today needs us. Our world today needs a bridge of art science and technology to show us new ways of knowing, new ways of being, new ways of seeing the place that we are in ourselves, with each other, with our resources on the planet, and beyond. And that impact that we can have going forward has led Leonardo to build its partnerships with MIT Press, who publishes our book series and our journals and our experimental digital platforms, and organizations around the world, including in particular, most significantly, a new partnership with ASU. Now, ASU is the Arizona State University, as the name suggests, based in Arizona. But I'd like us to consider ASU as not just Arizona State University, but Arts Science Universally. Arts Science Universally. Very conveniently, the acronym for ASU matches up. I appreciate that. So I just became the CEO of Leonardo, moving from New York to open our executive office in Arizona, knowing that we're part of a distributed, decentralized global network with our headquarters in Oakland, our sister organization, OLAT's here in Paris, and key relationships, including with MIT Press in Cambridge and other places around the world. This kind of partnership is not by accident or simply opportunity. It's very much by design to work with those visionaries who are building the bridge, not just for I'm a university and I'm interested in this, but we are at ASU, Arts Science Universally, reimagining the role of our institutions, including the institutions of higher ed, to go beyond a university to become a hub for lifelong learning that's transdisciplinary and forward-focused. So, what might that mean, and why does it matter? Because we need to imagine a better world, not just analyze the problems of today. We see the problems and they terrify us, and that fear can paralyze us. We need to imagine, in the way that arts science combined can do, new ways of building a finer future, and imagining what that world might look like that is not covered with our colleagues wearing masks in other places, unable to join us. And it's not residual of the fires, the smoke that we can still almost smell from our family and friends in Australia. We need new images, all senses, all sciences to create a better world. And we do that through Leonardo in two primary ways, through our publications and our programs that includes our residencies. So our publications include the peer-reviewed journals. Leonardo has become the world's leading academic peer-reviewed journal in arts, science, technology, and we believe that that scholarship matters, not only intrinsically for the value it provides, but strategically for the field that it builds, the insights and understanding that are shared from that knowledge, and making that accessible through free and open digital content, including Leonardo a platform for graduate abstracts that we can access, wouldn't otherwise be there. And at the same time, we recognize that our publications have helped shape this field and join as part of a larger literature of art, science, technology, such that now we want to explore other ways of sharing and generating knowledge, other media, and other forms of connectivity. And one of those forms of connectivity that matters is through our programs. And our programs include an international speaker series we call the LASER series. LASER is an acronym for Leonardo Arts Science Evening Rendezvous. And the LASER series you may know from having attended or spoken at one in any of our now 43 cities around the world that host LASER series, including here in Paris, where our wonderful LASER is hosted. And with our sister organization, OLATS, we have that director with us here today, Anik, whom I'm delighted to be able to honor and acknowledge here as well. The LASER series invites speakers to share their work from practice or scholarship with a larger community 4 to 6 times a year in these soon-to-be 4 cities around the world. It serves as a kind of radar for us, which our founder identified, that there's this network not only of speaking out from the Leonardo constellation, the Leosphere, but also listening in. What are the questions being asked? What are the issues, the areas of social change we want to empower, the challenges or new opportunities in creative experience that we want to practice? So that LASER network in 48 cities, soon to be 48 cities, now 43, is part of how we make connections that matter and build community, as well as generate knowledge and share knowledge. We also build community through educators of art, science, technology, and will soon be able to share and build community with a global network of hosts and organizers of art science residencies. And that's the part that I want to spend a little more time talking about as we build and embody this art science bridge that we are, our art science in residency program. So our program doesn't happen in isolation. Our work doesn't happen in isolation. This field and this room is perhaps enclosed right now with 4 walls, but beyond these walls is a world that doesn't stop because we took a day to be here together. And one of the ways that we'll want to imagine this better world around us as we consider who we are in this room and go back out into the world is by building on Gandhi's imperative, you must be the change you want to see in the world, and follow up saying yes, and we must see the change we want to be. So to see the change we want to be so that we can be that change, we need artists and scientists to show us that possibility, to provoke us with those hard questions. One way that we see the change we want to be is through new frameworks, the frameworks like the Sustainable Development Goals. So we haven't mentioned the SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals, yet, but it's important for me to acknowledge the time we live in is within this 15-year framing of Sustainable Development Goals signed by every country in the world, developed with civil society as well as members of the United Nations, to envision as a roadmap where we're headed. Not to solve every problem, but to acknowledge that we are empowering change by design or by default, by our intentions or lack thereof. We want to, as much as possible, empower and fuel our place in the movement to achieve Sustainable Development Goals. For me, this means starting where we are. So we start where we are as a community of artists in residencies. We start where we are as organizations with which we're affiliated or with whom we have a sphere of influence. And we start where we are with ourselves as individuals, with the agency that we have and the agency we maybe haven't even dared yet to imagine. So that impact allows us to change the way we see things in ways that make sense. And this then informs Leonardo's programs, which have grown into this global ecosystem of connection, experience, and innovation for artists and scientists and technologists. Our residencies are part of what we are referring to as full cycle service for our community. So our residencies are not one-off projects that happen in isolation. Rather, they come in and out of our publications, of our laser salon series, of our educational network, of our presence in and out of gatherings, of our support for partners and constituent members. And I'd like us to imagine, as we build an art science bridge, how our work in residencies can be amplified by the other services that we might be able to tap into or partner with through Leonardo or other parts of the art science community around the world. So it's in this context that we're looking to affect change with a global network of artists in residencies that are art science and technologists in residency. And I wanted to share with you two examples of case studies that are really, really different models. I'm choosing these two in part because they're the most recent, most active residencies in my mind, but also because they are such very different models. And we are agnostic as to what the format is for an art science residency that Leonardo will host or partner with, except for, I would say, three common principles. And we're not agnostic about this. All of the residencies that we are engaged with are, in my mind, moving us towards my mantra, my key driving question, which is how can we become more human and more humane? How can we become more human and more humane? How does our bridge of art science make us more human and more humane? And I'd say there are three key elements of our work and our interaction and our residencies. And that's that they are genuine, they are generative, and they are generous. So by genuine, I mean that they are rightly aligned with the values of that place and those people. Different formats, different business models, but they're genuine to who they are bringing together. That's the first thing. They're genuine. It's authentic. Secondly, it's generative. It's collaborative. We're creating things with this time. Even if what we're creating is simply a new idea, sparking a new conversation or a new way of looking at things, that matters. And even if that can't be measured in metrics, it might be immeasurable in impact. We're generative. And then thirdly, we're generous. We're generous. So our experience of residency is generous in that it offers insight beyond the participant themselves to the larger community. So we want to share what we learn, lessons, mistakes, opportunities, and invite others to participate or benefit from that experience. So we are genuine, generous, and generative to become more human and more humane with our residencies. So the first one I'm going to talk about is our scientific delirium madness. And I'm going to interrupt myself for a moment just for a time check because I forgot to set my timer. So how am I doing?
You have about 2 minutes left.
Oh, that's not going to work. Okay. So luckily, I'm going to fold some of this into the panel discussion. But let me just share with you two models. One is our science delirium madness at the Gerasi Art Retreat Center. So first of all, most fabulous thing, title, right? This title is the most fabulous title ever, Scientific Delirium Madness. And this model of an art of science residency has been going on annually for several years now at the most beautiful retreat center in Santa Cruz Mountains overlooking the Pacific. It's absolutely stunning, and we bring together 12 artists and scientists who live together residentially in this beautiful space with no requirements as to what their thematic focus will be, what their output is, what the deliverables are, just to be present. I would say to be genuine, be generous, be generative. And in that process, of course, fabulous collaborations come out with all kinds of terrific outputs, outcomes, and impact. And we have an open call going on right now. So I encourage all of you to mobilize your networks and encourage people to apply for this residency. It takes place for 1 month in California in the summer, and our open call closes in 2 weeks. The second example I want to share is with Nokia Bell Labs. And in this case, we partner with the experiments in arts and technology program of Nokia Bell Labs, the tech company, who hosts a non-residential embedded program for 6 weeks to 6 months, where one artist is working together with a research team to be inspired by and inform and inspire how they work together. And in that case, the company is inspiring me in reframing innovation in terms of not just change for its own sake and being inventive, but also being impactful for real transformation. So in this case, there's a deep dive with one individual over an extended period of time in a corporate setting at Nokia Bell Labs. In the case of SDM at Jurassic, it's a concentrated period of time with a larger group residentially in nature. We need all of these kinds of formats and models, not just these two examples, but others, to be part of a brain trust network that informs and inspires our arts residency programs. And in our case, we don't work alone. Our business model is to partner with scholars and thinkers and different kinds of educational and institutional and cultural institutions to work with innovation and research labs, with scientists and artists, both public sector and private sector, to work with enablers and accelerators from all sources that are genuine, generous, and generative partners in our efforts to become more human and more humane. And I want to just conclude by inviting you to join or deepen your relationship with our partnership network. We need you, we want you, and we want to serve this larger community as we roll out our global network of arts science residencies as part of our Fullcycle services that we might be able to amplify through our publications, our experimental online platforms, our network of salon series around the world. Let's do this together and be this bridge together. We are the thought leaders who create the images, the ideas, and the inspiration that will be imagining the better world for ourselves and our future generations. So I thank you very much, and I can take questions in Canada.